A quick revision video about Bloody Sunday. Okay, Bloody Sunday uh, was an event a tragic event in Northern Ireland where 14 civilians were shot dead by the Parachute Regiment in Derry on the 30th of January 1972. A march had been arranged that day to protest against internment. And when the march reached the centre of Derry, there was a confrontation between the army and the young people involved in the march. And as usual, the usual riot developed. But then things took a turn for the worse when the Parachute Regiment entered Bogside and, in the space of a few minutes, shot dead 14 people. Now, the army tried to cover up the incident. There was a report held afterwards, uh, the Widgery report, which said that the soldiers were fired on first and that those who were shot had been armed or were nail bombers. Um, Much later, the Savile inquiry found that that was actually false. And one of the images that is well known from that event is this image of Father Daly leading these people, trying to get through the crowds, waving a blood-stained white handkerchief so that he's not fired upon by the paratroopers. Right, so Bloody Sunday is a hugely important event because of the reaction to it. There was international condemnation for what was going on in Northern Ireland from around the world. This was news around the world, okay? In Dublin, the British Embassy was burnt down as a crowd went there to protest, an angry crowd, which then developed into obviously the burning of the embassy. Provisional IRA membership increased after that, and many people who were commentating at the time said that the reason why the Troubles got as bad as it did in 1972 was because of Bloody Sunday, how people reacted to it, because many people felt that this was almost like a declaration of war, that the British Army had declared war on the people, and many people responded by joining the Provisional IRA. I think Father Daly, I read somewhere recently, said that he thinks that in Derry, before Bloody Sunday, there was a maximum of about 80 Provisional IRA men. And he says after it, he says they were queued up around the block trying to join the Provisional IRA. But it's also important because the British government began to think about taking direct control of Northern Ireland. You know, this is an embarrassment for the British government, what has happened. And now they're beginning to think we need to do something here. We need to get involved directly and take control away from the Unionist government. On the other hand, some Unionists did blame the marchers for what had happened. The march was an illegal march, which many of the civil rights marches were, and there was a riot, and many people took the attitude, well, what do you expect the soldiers to do when people are rioting? Okay, this is a quotation from a textbook. Well, it's actually from the Irish Press, and it says, if there was an able-bodied man with Republican sympathies within the Derry area who was not in the IRA before yesterday's butchery, there will be none tonight. Basically saying that, you know, anybody with any sort of sympathy for the Republican movement is going to join the IRA now in Derry after what had happened. So the reactions to Bloody Sunday are incredibly important, okay? And it leads in 1972 to become what we call the worst year of the Troubles. So when you're talking about 1972 in your in any answers to any questions, it's a good idea to have some examples of some of the things that happened that year. There were 500 dead, 500 died in 1972 alone. 200 had died in the 3 years up to that in the Troubles, okay? So the Troubles had started in 1969, but only 200 had died. I say only 200, that's still quite a number, but 500 alone died in 1972, making it the worst year of the Troubles. And there were a number of big atrocities. For example, Bloody Friday in Belfast, where the IRA set off 20 bombs in 80 minutes, killing 9 people, okay? There were other atrocities too by loyalist paramilitaries like the McGurk's Bar massacre, where 15 civilians were killed as they blew up a bar. The UVF claimed responsibility for that. And there were other bombs like the Claudy bomb, which no one claimed responsibility for. Many people believed it was the IRA, but 9 people died in that. Okay, so 1972, the violence really intensified, and many people believe that that was a direct result of Bloody Sunday. Okay, also important, another reaction to 1972 is the introduction of direct rule. Another reaction to Bloody Sunday is the introduction of direct rule. The British government are becoming concerned about the deteriorating situation in Northern Ireland. They asked the Stormont government to give up security powers to Westminster, but the Stormont government refused. They did not want to give up control of Northern Ireland. So the British government suspended Stormont and introduced direct rule from Westminster, and William Whitelaw is made Northern Ireland's Secretary of State. So now Stormont is gone from March 1972. Okay, the reactions to that, well, if we take nationalist reactions first of all, most nationalists are happy to see an end of the Stormont government, but the IRA vowed to continue their campaign until Britain leaves Ireland. So the IRA are not happy just with seeing the end of Stormont. They want to see British leave Northern Ireland altogether. And the civil rights movement vowed to continue their fight for civil rights. On the loyalist side, many loyalists feel betrayed by the British government. There's a huge demonstration in Stormont by thousands of loyalists protesting at the loss of their government. And Bill Craig sets up a group called Ulster Vanguard, which begins talking about taking the war to the enemy and about creating an independent Ulster. So, hugely significant event is Bloody Sunday in terms of not only what had happened in Derry, but also the reactions to it.